Hey, this is MARRELL from the Group 8, and I'll be the one to discuss about the essential parts of a learning plan. So this is the poster that we have made, or the content of this presentation. So according to what we have read, there are 6 essential parts of a learning plan. These are, first, the student objectives or learning outcomes. Second, daily procedure. Third, prerequisite skills. Fourth, materials and resources required for the unit. Fifth, accommodation for differentiated instruction. And sixth, student assessment, including the formative assessment and summative assessment. So first part of a learning plan is the student objectives or learning outcomes. So student objectives or learning outcomes are the statements that specify what students will know, be able to do, or be able to demonstrate when they have completed or participated in a course or program. So this is the instructor's or the teacher's purpose for creating and teaching their course. So for example, student objectives or learning outcomes from what we have read. So this is through an introductory PowerPoint lecture presentation on the concepts of journalism, the students will be able to first recognize the basic concept of journalism and news, opinion, and feature writing. Second, students will be describe the personal significance of reading news, opinion, and feature articles to their daily life by making a creative output, such as poem, essay, or poster. And last, the students will be able to determine through information the distinct qualities of the given samples of news, opinion, and feature articles. So as you can see, these objectives in the example are brief and clear and specific. So the objective statement should be brief, clear, and specific so that the learners know well of what they have to do at the end of the lesson or learning experience. Second is the daily procedure. So daily procedure is the body of your learning plan, the ways in which you will share information with students and the methods you will use to help them assume a measure of mastery of that material. So in other terms, procedure or what we call the routine. So these are the specific ways of doing common repeated classroom tasks or activities. So for example, a short prayer, opening prayer, checking of attendance. So those routines or procedure are what the teachers do before in a lesson or discussion, or those procedures or routines are what the teachers do in every meeting or class. The third is the prerequisite skills. So prerequisite skills are the skills that your students need to have mastered before the lesson segment so that they can successfully learn what you will be teaching. So from the word pre, meaning before. So the skills that we need to know, understand first before learning or understanding something new. So for example, of prerequisite skills are such as basic research skills, basic knowledge in formal grammar, exposure to journalism, specifically news, feature, and opinion articles, and the basic knowledge in using MS Publisher. So these are the example of prerequisite skills. So this is from the learning plan of Reporter's Notebook. So it has something to do with journalism. That is why the students should master these skills. So in a basic research skills, since they have to seek information, for example, they have to make news, so they have to seek information. That is why they should have basic research skills. And also, just like what I have said, for example, that they are making a news, so that is why they should have basic knowledge in formal grammar and exposure to journalism, such as news, feature, and opinion articles, for them to have an idea how to make articles or news, and the basic knowledge in using MS Publisher, since they had to type their news or articles that they have made in a document form, for example. So fourth is the materials and resources required for the unit. So these are what the teachers or students use. So for example of materials and resources are the technology hardware required for the units, such as desktop, smartphones, internet connection, digital camera, and printer. For the printed materials such as newspapers, opinion and feature articles, dictionary or thesaurus, grammar guidebook, textbook about journalistic writing, and handout of the lesson, and the supplies, intermediate paper, coupon band, and writing materials. So these materials, resources are used by the teacher and students during a learning process. So why do we need to have learning materials and resources in learning process? So this is because it makes the lesson interesting, learning easy, and enable the teachers to easily express concepts. Also, these materials and resources can significantly increase the learner's achievement by supporting learning. And the fifth, accommodation for differentiated instruction. So when we say accommodation, this is the change or alternation that does not change the expectation of content, just how the student shows or gains that content. So we all know that there are some students that have specific disabilities or impairments, so such as students with special learning needs. So the teachers, for example, the teachers can provide notes from class discussion for review or remediation. So we all know that there are slow learner students, so they are hardly understand what the teachers discuss during a lesson. So the teachers can provide notes for them to review or remediation. And also the teachers can prepare alternative activities that are developmentally appropriate for students. So there are some students are hardly cannot do some activities that the teachers provided. So teachers can provide alternative activities for them to participate in class. And for the students with visual impairment, the teachers can also convert the given videos to an audio format. So since some students that are visually impairment, so that video can convert into an audio format so that they can just listen to it for them to understand what the video talk about. And also, the teacher can prepare soft copies for quizzes and handout as preferred by the students. So another example for the students with hearing impairment. So the teachers can also add subtitles to the videos used in class since they cannot hear. So they will just read the subtitles to that video so they can understand what the videos talk about. And also the teacher should learn basic sign language. So since they cannot hear, so to communicate them, the teacher will use the basic sign language so that his or her students can understand him or her. And also the teacher can prepare printed transcriptions for audio-related media. So they will just read the transcriptions. And for the students who are gifted, so these students are advanced, so the teacher can provide additional materials or resources, either printed or in online, for further reading. So we all know that students that are gifted, they seek for more information, more details about your lessons, so you can provide them a material so that they have a further reading or can understand further that lesson. So also the teacher accommodate questions to the best of your ability, and also refer the student to a knowledgeable person, a reliable book or website for questions you cannot answer. So we all know that some gifted students, they tend to question a lot, or they are so curious about your lessons or that topic. So you can refer the student to a knowledgeable person. For example, that student is gifted in terms of mathematics, so you can refer the student to a knowledgeable person in mathematics, so that you can, so that that students can enhance or improve his capabilities or learning. So if you cannot answer their questions, so you can give them a book reliable to what the students have to or need to understand further. So the sixth is the student assessment. So student assessment is the key component of learning because it helps students learn. So when students are able to see how they are doing in a class, they are able to determine whether or not they understand the course material. So it enables the instructors or teachers to measure the effectiveness of their teaching, and for the students, they can determine whether they learned something or none from the lesson that you have discussed. So we have two types of assessment. So one of it is the formative assessment. So this is the wide variety of methods that teachers use to conduct in-process evaluations of students' comprehension, learning needs, and academic progress during a lesson, unit, or course. So I know that when we heard about assessment, so we think that it is conducted after a lesson or a unit or a course, but you need to include assessment in your learning plan, not only at the end, but also during the lesson. So by testing for understanding during the lesson, you will know if your students are making the right connections as you are teaching. So for example, the students will draw a concept map in class to represent their understanding of a topic. And another type of assessment is the summative assessment. So these are used to evaluate students' learning, skill acquisition, and academic achievement at the conclusion of a defined instructional period, typically at the end of a project, unit, course, semester, program, or school year. So it administered at the end of an instructional unit in a course. So for example, the final projects and the standardized tests. So we have tests or exam after a course or a unit or semester. So summative assessment is conducted after a program or semester. So if you are asking what is the difference between the formative and summative assessment, so just like what I have said recently, that the key difference between the formative and summative assessment is that the formative assessment is conducted during a lesson, while the summative assessment is at the end of a project, unit, course, or school year. So that is the key difference between the formative and summative assessment. So that's all for the essential parts of a learning plan. So for the learning from the learning plan will be discussed by my members. So that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. So let's continue to our report, which is the learning from the learning plans. So here we have the guide questions and the learning plan 1, which is the reporter's notebook, and the learning plan 2, the Panitikang Mediterranean. So in the first question, are the learning objectives aligned with the targeted basic education curriculum competences? Why do you say so? So in the learning plan 1, we answer yes, they're aligned. It is important to have alignment of the objectives with the targeted basic education curriculum competences because it helps students to focus on the most critical abilities while staying on track with the overall goal. It's also difficult to assess the success of instructional tactics when they're not aligned. So same question in the learning plan 2, we answer yes, they're aligned. Learning objectives must match the basic education curriculum competences. It clearly states what the learners should know and the curriculum competences, as well as they are aligned into the said grade level and subject. So if the assessment are misaligned with learning objectives or instructional strategies, it can undermine both students' motivation and learning. On the other hand, according to Dr. Serhat Court, if the learning objectives are aligned with the targeted basic education curriculum competences, it will help minimize wasted time as students are enabled to focus on skills gave towards the learning objectives. The guide question number 2 is the plan of the technology integration supportive of the attainment of the learning competences and learning objectives? Explain your answer. So in the learning plan 1, we answer yes, the materials and resources, mostly technological, because we are talking about the learning and technology. So we are expected that the materials should be computer based or technological based. So both students and teachers integrates technology in their learning and teaching process to meet the curriculum competences and goals or objectives. So in the learning plan 2, we answer yes, the plan of the technology integration supportive of the attainment of the learning competences and learning objectives. This makes easier for teachers to create instructional learning materials to enabling new ways for learners to learn and work together. According to Edutopia and George Lucas Educational Foundation, they says that technology, when integrated into the curriculum, revolutionized the learning process. More and more studies shows that technology integration in the curriculum improves students' learning process and outcomes. So teachers who recognize computers as problem-solving tools change the way they teach. So that's all. Thank you.